Hello, I'm Dr. Mercy, and hey, I'm celebrating all the working moms that are around the world. I would like to share with you my experience that I had last week when I went to the library and I saw this picture here of a little boy which says, "Will Haiti become another curse for America?" You know, when I saw that book, it looked like I was looking at a Zimbabwean child. And it just gave me, the zeal to make another video on the plight of the child in Zimbabwe, where I did my research on children whose orphans were orphaned by parental HIV/AIDS. And I'm still appealing President Obama, the Clintons, PM Tony Blair, PM Gordon Brown, please remove the embargo, the Zimbabwe illegal embargo. You know, when I saw this picture here, it just reminded me of the volunteering I did for the then senator, who is now President Obama. And I'm going to use, dolls. I really like to use dolls at times. And he would say, change begins with you. I remember in 2008 in Dover, Delaware, we were amongst the first three to canvass for President Obama. And I remember this guy here, and this one will be me, and this one will be my friend, E. So the three of us, we went knocking door to door. And as we were knocking, this will be me, I would tell my friends about my research that I did in Zimbabwe and how change would come if this guy, President Obama, would be in power. And when I told my friends here about the plight in Zimbabwe, do you know what he did? And that was in 2007. He was so infuriated, and he went on to write a letter to Senator Joseph R. Biden. And I'm going to write the letter that he wrote. I have covered the names, but it was him and his wife. She was not campaigning with us, but they wrote a letter on the plight of Zimbabwe. He said, "Dear Senator, I have a serious doubt in my mind about our foreign policy agenda as it relates to sanctions against Zimbabwe." This is what was written by these two. "As a country, we do not use the sanction policy in a uniform manner, and thus we open ourselves up to criticism. In the case of Zimbabwe, the effort to exert pressure on their President Mugabe by squeezing his economy ends up hurting the poorest of his people." And when I see this picture here, the poorest of the poor, yet he and all those people of Zimbabwe who have wealth and power are able to escape the pains of poverty our policy creates, said Barbara Peter. There is a saying, he went on to write, shh, S-H-I-T, flows down the hill. No place is it more apparent than when you restrict the basics of life: food, medicine, soap, and clothing, the people you hurt the most are the common people of the country, and to a greater degree, the poorest among them. This reminds me, I still remember how my mother, before she died, would talk on the phone and she would tell me how the sanctions were making her suffer in the rural areas, to be without soap, to be without salt. So I blame sanctions to her death. Anyway, he wrote, we as a nation choose to trade and in fact give most favored status to many governments we do not agree with. We appear to accept inhuman treatment of some people because we want to trade with them. I can name a lot. Example, Egypt. While a nation like Zimbabwe is devastated and crushed into abject poverty, is the uneven foreign policy statement we are making whatever our economic needs dictates policy? Or even worse, is our policy saying Africans are less important? You know, it reminds me of Gordon Brown, Prime Minister. I heard he said he will not lift sanctions of Zimbabwe. Hear what the common American guys are saying about sanctions in Zimbabwe. He went on to write, you as a leading spokesman for our country have said that we must aggressively pursue diplomatic means to help change governments. I agree. Diplomacy and dialogue are always better than crushing a civilian population by war or oppressive economic sanctions like what is happening in Zimbabwe today. The higher unemployment rate, do you know in Zimbabwe it's 99% unemployment rate? And the deeper pain of poverty a population endures, the more likely it is to spawn terrorism. In your pulpit of candidacy, I ask you to challenge the economic sanctioning against Zimbabwe and call on the President and the Congress to change our unfair policies. You know, as a researcher, I was able to get hold of the Zidera Act, which was passed by President Bill Clinton before President Bush was in power. And this is the act to sanction Zimbabwe. You know, when I read through page 7, it talks about restriction on multilateral financing restriction. You know, Adolf Hitler, if you read books on him, he was restricting people, poor people. So when we have a document like this, this is a document that every Zimbabwean ought to have. I went on to page 9, and it talks about implement travel and economic sanctions against those individuals and their associates and families. And number 4, provide for eventual removal or amendment of those sanctions. And what did President Obama do? On March 9 last year, he extended the sanctions. Please, President Obama, what's your agenda on the black community of Africa, Zimbabwe? Thank you. Remove those sanctions. Thank you.